So we are continuing with the epilogue and also the 24 principal gurus of Lord Dattatreya. Lessons of wisdom from nature. Very good morning. Jai Shri Krishna Guru. Thank you for joining Shri Guru Charitra Satsang. Wishing you all a very happy Wednesday. Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha, Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, Om Shri Saraswataya Namaha, Om Shri Guru Dattatreya Namaha, Om Shri Mahalakshmi Namaha, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Guru Charitra Satsang. It will be of interest here to know that Lord Dattatreya says that we will have to, however, learn initially the lessons of wisdom from nature herself, who is the best teacher. He cites his own example to illustrate this truth and tells us from whom he had learnt and what each one of them teaches us. So we have been doing some very profound lessons about the 24 principal gurus of Lord Dattatreya, the Mother Nature herself. We have finished until bees. Now let us continue from the next principal guru, who is musk deer. Oh my God, musk deer. The musk deer is a slave to its sense of sound, that is ear. The hunter entices it away by playing music and it gets caught up in his trap. So what is Lord Dattatreya teaching here? Don't get carried away to your senses. And what is the sense organ we are talking about? Ear. So the musk deer is a slave to its sense of sound. The sense of sound. We human beings get carried away with what we hear, what we see, touch, feel, everything, what we smell. And that is a very important aspect of overcoming in spirituality. In fact, Lord Sri Krishna has said very beautifully in chapter 2 in Bhagavad Gita. He says the sense objects come into the contact, the senses come into the contact of the sense object. And the moment it comes into the contact, then the mind comes. And then what happens? The mind gets drawn outwards because of the senses. Why? Because we want to enjoy the sense pleasure, and for which a man falls down. It could be when you see something very beautiful, you want to possess it. And when you hear something very nice, you feel so pleasing. And same thing, when you hear somebody saying something bad, you feel disgusted. So what is happening? The beautiful music, the deer got carried away, it got enticed. Isn't the same thing even with human beings? When somebody is, praising you, you feel mighty pleased, you feel elated. Oh my God, I am such a great person. I am such a great being. Your ego rises no end. And same thing, what happens when someone insults you? Your ego becomes deflated. It feels, oh God, everybody is saying, bad things about me. I am the one. I am like this. I am bad. Your deflated ego is even more greater, bigger than your inflated ego. Why? Because then the next step that comes in is martyrdom. Oh, I am the one, I am the victim, I am the evil. Last few days I've been, getting weird calls from people whom I know from many years ago. And these people are going through their own challenges in their material world. What shocks me is the kind of reasons that they are giving for why they have given up living their life, why they have given up certain activities which they used to be so good at. An example, simple thing. I'm one of the person was telling me, I've stopped driving, I've lost my confidence level. I'm like, what the hell that means? Just because you're going through something in your world, you've given up driving. This person says, I'm not able to handle the stress and I can't drive anymore. Why? Because the mind is so active. The mind is completely made you feel you are the one who's worst human being on this earth right now. Everybody has left you gone and you're the victim who's suffering. So what is happening? You've already become a martyrdom, deflated ego. Martyrdom is going on. I'm sorry. On the contrary, you should see everything is happening for the good alone. Get up, rise, and do something with your life. Why would you give up that which you have been doing for so many years? And then another reason, in a woman's case, it'll be, oh, I'm going through menopause, oh, monthly period, PMS. and I don't know what not they have reasons to give. This is stupidity. This is exactly what my Krishna Guruji is saying. Why are we always hiding behind reasons for not doing something, for trying to go into the gutters and becoming a tamasic human being? On the contrary, we have to rise above and say, I can do, I can win, I can be everything that I have to be. God has given me this beautiful capability. Imagine, in one of the principal gurus, isn't that Lord Dattatreya teaching that divine nature? What is he teaching here? Of our divine nature, the awareness of the self, of our innate divine nature and potential. What is, and who is this principal guru? Fire. Because fire represents this, it represents spiritual wisdom. It is a symbol of knowledge. And what are we doing when this knowledge is there within us? We're trying to give reasons. We're getting carried away by what people say. Why are we paying so much importance to what someone says to you? You know what, many years ago, when I, very early in stage on my path of spirituality with my Krishna Guruji, I was also feeling a victim. I was also acting this victim person in life. Oh, my life has been so bad. I didn't get this. As a child, I've grown up, in a very tough situation. Too many things. I had to earn, fend for my family. Too many nonsensical things. Like everybody says the same thing, even I was going through. And then my Guruji will say, what nonsense are you talking? What do you mean you faced that, you did this, you did that? At the end of the day, he gave me one very important lesson. See, whatever a man goes through, whether it is good or bad, it is because of our prarabdha karma. The karma which we have accrued in many lives of ours. And what are we coming here for? This birth is about repayment. And by some good merit, we get to meet the divine master. So what are you supposed to do? You have to use that opportunity to redeem yourself, because this is a blessing in disguise. God has been very kind to us, so that we could meet our guru. Rather, the guru finds you. You don't find the guru. When the right time comes, when at the God's appointed timing, the guru finds you because of God's grace on you. Some merit, something that you have done good to Lord Shri Krishna. So the Guru finds you. And when you get this opportunity, what are you doing? You're wasting your life. Again, telling your Guruji how pathetic your life has been. People come, like my Guruji say, मेरे साथ बहुत रोतलू लोग आते हैं. Sorry, it's in Hindi. Rotlu means cry babies. A lot of people who are every single day they're crying. What am I supposed to do? My life is so bad, miserable. I don't know what exactly to do. I am lost. I don't know what my future is. What nonsense are you talking? My Guruji will say, sir, do something, get up, and God has given you some life, you have a Swadharma. Can you just keep doing? Don't bother about what is the end result going to be. And why are we getting carried away with these sense pleasures? That is the most important thing we should not do. And what does Lord Shri Krishna says? You have to go inwards. Use all of the senses to go inwards. And that is why Lord Shri Krishna is he propagates bhakti marg, love and devotion. So what does he say? Use all your senses to worship the divine Lord Almighty. Every sense of yours. If you want to smell nice, right? You smell nice. But who are you smelling nice for? But because you want to offer this body, this beautiful being, to the divine Lord Almighty, the self within you. Why do you need another person to love you? Isn't it the Lord within you who's eternally loving you? His arms is wide open, telling me, turn towards me, come to me. I am here for you. Who's not going to do anything bad. On the contrary, I will take care of you. I will do everything good for you. But we don't want this divine being. We're looking for something outside. Why should we go outward? The whole point of this lesson is, do not use your senses to go outward. It draws you. The Maya externally draws your attention. The sense objects attracts you. But don't let your senses run outward. Draw itself inward. You have to go inwards. All the senses have been given so that you can, experience the divine Lord Almighty through your senses. But again, please remember, the divinity cannot be understood with these senses, not with the mind at all. It is only a tool so that you could get the right knowledge. The knowledge has to be imbibed. Why is the knowledge important? So that you can cut asunder the ignorance. But for attaining the divine Lord Almighty, you have to transcend your mind, body, senses, the three gunas and Maya, and then only you can attain the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna, with only through love, pure love, unconditional love, and exclusive devotion, and complete surrender unto his lotus feet. That is the only way to achieve him. There are no two other ways about it. And please remember, most important, you know what? The way my Krishna Guruji has taught, when you dress, you're dressing not for to somebody has to praise you. You're dressing because you're offering yourself to the divine Lord Almighty. My God rests within me. My Lord Sri Krishna is within me. Isn't he admiring? Isn't he want to look good? Who's reflecting through this body? It is my Lord Sri Krishna who's reflecting. So don't you think I have to look very nice? Because I am representing him. So where is the offering gone? So everything that you think you're going to do, it is not for satisfying the sense pleasure, like, with the ego. Oh, I am looking very beautiful, I am so great, everybody's praising me, that is ego. But when you turn the same thing and says, Lord, I'm offering myself to you, the whole appearance of mine is because of you, because you are within my heart, you exude the beauty in me, that the divinity. The beauty is not by wearing paint. People, have you seen this Instagram? Every second video will be of painting your face. You think that is beauty? People use all the nonsensical, makeup, and they paint their face. It's sometimes scary. They look like witches. It's very scary to look at them. And then they paint so much. But is that the real beauty? The beauty is the purity in your heart, the goodness. That is the beauty that will reflect on you. That is the true beauty. That is the ornament of the goodness that you wear, the things that you exude, is that inner beauty, which is that goodness, the purity, the love. Those are the beauty, that which makes you truly beautiful. It is not how much you want to paint your face. That is what false. That is all falsehood. No, you are showing somebody who you are not. People will try to cover their wrinkles, their the marks, scars, whatever, by applying so much of paint. But is that going to make a difference? You're only faking it, right? You're covering it it's called a falsehood. But that is not the beauty. The real beauty, that which is within your heart, it has to exude in you. When people look at you, they have to literally feel like worshipping you. Why? Because that is who you represent, and that is the divinity we are talking. That is the self within us we are talking. So what should you do? Use all your senses to go inward. And in other aspect is especially in the bhakti marg, what Lord Sri Krishna teaches us, you use all your senses to serve the divine Lord Almighty. That which you think you want to do, like you want to hear music or whatever your ear is, why don't you hear the praises or bhajans of the divine Lord? It is beautiful. You want to speak, right? So what can you speak? Speak the praises, sing the praises and glories of the divine Lord. Use the same sense organs for worshipping the divine Lord, devotional service, for loving the divine Almighty. And what is it? You want to make your Lord look very beautiful. Can you use all your skills to decorate him? And when you look at him, don't you admire? Dwell in that beauty. Let your eyes drink the nectar of his beauty. Madhurashtakam, how sweet it is. Adi Shankaracharya composed Madhurashtakam. In that he does this varnan. Varnan means describing the beauty of Lord Sri Krishna's eyes, lips, nose. How pink is his lips, how sweet is it, nectarine. It's so enticing. Everybody want to just fall over Lord Sri Krishna and just hug. They all want to own him, possess him. They want to just literally love him. Isn't that how it feels? Imagine, that is what it is. And who is this Lord Sri Krishna? The one within you. You don't need another in this world. That is what the devotion means. Why are we running after the carnal desires in the material world? Let me tell you, no man, no woman is worth in this world. You know what? You have the Lord for yourself. When I say I am married to Lord Sri Krishna, I am truly married to him. There is nobody else in my world. He is my everything of everything. My father, my brother, my Gurudev, my husband, my beloved, my boyfriend, my best friend, with whom I even can sometimes just let my hair loose and fight. But everything is he within me. There is nobody outside. That is the truth. Yourself is the one which needs to be loved. There is the self which is loving you unconditionally. So why are you going into somebody outside? Why are you getting falling prey to that? So use all your senses to go inwards and to do the devotional service unto the lotus feet of this Lord Sri Krishna. Your life will be worth living. I'm telling you, every day will be so beautiful. It's madness, it's magic, it's so adventurous. There is, like my Krishna Guruji will say, picture abhi bhi baki hai. It's 70 wide movie that goes on. There is everything. Sometimes there is happiness, sometimes there is fight, sometimes there is this. But that's the sweetness. That is why, he's the highest Rasika. He comes and performs Ras Leela. That what does Ras Leela represent? That each gopi has their own divine Lord Almighty. Likewise, the self, which is the Paramatman within you, which is, one with you. You are the one who has to go inward and attain this Paramatma, that supreme divine consciousness, not go outward and get lost in this material world and feel like a miserable human being. We don't have to feel that. That is exactly what Lord Dattatreya is teaching to this musk deer, which is getting enticed by hearing to some music, who's trapping this musk deer into that entrapment, where this musk deer is going to get caught and they're going to kill it, use its skin and the musk so that they can make the best perfume and sell it in the world. This is the reality. So I hope you understood this beautiful lesson. Why do we have senses? Why do we have body? What is our purpose? I think I've been explaining the same thing over and over and over again, through whether it was through Sai Baba's Poti or through Guru Charitra. The teaching is one and the same. There is no different. And if you take Bhagavad Gita, it is teaching all about this. Like I said, chapter 2, this is exactly what Lord Sri Krishna is saying. So you need to, don't get your senses to be drawn towards the object and go outwards. Don't dwell into the sense objects. That is what will be the root cause of your misery. So let us move on to the next. Next is even more interesting. Elephant. So what does the elephant represent? The elephant is a slave to the sense of touch. Okay. See, in this chapter, sorry, I forgot to read this. The snares of senses with sound, touch, sight, taste and smell are illustrated in the following examples. That is L to P. So these are the principal gurus of Lord Dattatreya, where the sense organs, the senses, which is the sound, touch, sight, taste and smell, all are going to put us in trouble. So what is Lord Dattatreya teaching us? That we should not let our senses get entangled, put us into an entrapment in this world, because of the contact that when the senses come in contact with the sense objects, it should not lead us to our downfall. So we have to always be careful, aware. That is what we are learning here. So what happens? Elephant. So let us see which sense is this. The elephant is a slave to the sense of touch. Oh my God. The male elephant, driven by lust, falls into a pit attracted by a dummy female elephant put there as a trap by the elephant catchers. Oh my God, this is another very interesting. Do I even have to give you an explanation? I think it is very straightforward. I have enough explained about lust. Whether it is a man or a woman, please remember, we are in the age of Kali Yuga. And what is predominant? Tamas. And what is tamas all about? Lust and greed. Even otherwise, even if you're Rajasic, you're still greedy, you're lusty, that's all. But we are going to get entrapped into this. What happens to us? Whether it is a man or a woman, is running after another woman or a man. And the moment they look at this man, they feel, oh, I love him. Oh my God, he's my Prince Charming. I've fallen in love with him. He's going to come and, it's like the prince who's going to come and sweep me off my floor and carry away the Cinderella story, my foot Cinderella story. There is no Cinderella story. There is no princess. It is only a dream world. La La Land. Have you watched this movie called La La Land? And if you have not, you must watch. And in that movie, this reality of this Cinderella story, the fairy tales have been very beautifully explained. The truth is not that, and this is what we don't understand. See, in the material world, whether you say, oh, I love my boyfriend so much, he's very dear to me, I'm going to get married happily, happily married ever after. There is no happily married ever after. Those are only possible in fairy tales. And this is exactly what Lord Sri Krishna, to every other divine masters and beings, they manifest time and again to explain this, the dog-tailed human being whose nature doesn't want to change, make some sense into their head so that they can understand this truth. But we are human beings at the end of the day who will only want to follow our nature, which is drawn given to our sensual pleasures. We want to enjoy the sense pleasures. We want to titillate our senses, so we fall prey to these things. So what happens? We say, oh God, I found my boyfriend, he's my dream man, I'm getting married to him. Then marriage doesn't even last for 90 days. First honeymoon, see, we usually, earlier there was a saying, okay, it was believed honeymoon period is for 90 days. Now not even 90 minutes. And after 90 minutes there is a fight, and after 9 days, or I don't know, even after 9 hours there is a divorce happening. This is the day we have entered in. And then what happened? Oh, it's a bad choice. And then no, after the bad choice, oh, I'm going to now do the right choice. Then again the same dog's tail. The story continues. It doesn't end there. That is the sad part. We don't learn. Even after going through that hell, still a man doesn't learn. He falls prey to the same thing. But what is this human being trying to search? He's thinking he's going to get love. Okay, at least in a female story. Sorry, this was way back in time, at least when I was, I'm not old, okay. But when I was young, the Cinderella story, the Princess Charming, even I was also like that ignorant, wearing my pink colored glasses. I believe my, shining armor will come, and a knight of shining armor will come and sweep me off my feet and take me to his castle and then happily live ever after. Something like that. That is all nonsensic. When my Krishna Guruji, when he found me, the first truth that he revealed is there is no such thing in this world. And you know what? That was a shocker for me. I couldn't agree to him because I believed, there is a love which is so unconditional. And when you find this person, according to my definition of love, your love has to grow deeper and deeper and deeper. So my Guruji asked me one day, can you explain what are you trying to say? What is this love about? So I was describing a love which is only possible with Lord Sri Krishna. So who was I seeking? I was only seeking Lord Sri Krishna, but I was trying to find them in some human being. You think I will ever get? No. And that day, that was a eureka moment for me when my Gurudev explained to me. And since then, there is no looking back. I'm not joking on this. How sweet it is, how exciting it is to be in love with the Divine Lord Almighty. Because the fervor, the bhakti, the devotion, that love which is so pure, grows like madness for him every moment of the day. Every second it grows deeper and deeper. It's Athanga Sagar. This love is limitless. And you know what is most beautiful? It's like sometimes you're so angry with him. Lord, you're not coming to me. You're going away with every other being. This very beautiful story about Radha Rani. Imagine when Uddhava has gone, to meet the gopis and Radha Rani is sitting and looking at, she's sitting there and searching for Krishna, and suddenly this bumblebee comes there. And then she's talking to the bumblebee. You are like this bumblebee. Look, going from one flower to the another flower and, sucking all the nectar. Don't, you're such a Krishna, you're not good. Something like that too. She was just talking to him. And you know what? That is called bhakti. She can see Krishna in everything. Can you see something like that? That is the highest form of devotion. To have that kind of, love. It is so beautiful. It is indescribable. Only those who are in that love can experience. You'll just start crying at the word of Lord Sri Krishna. Just the word Radha Rani. You just don't know what happens to you. That is the madness of this love. Normal human being can never understand, because for them it is only that fulfillment of that carnal desire, that lust, that sense of touch. The moment they finish that act, that is it. That love is over. It doesn't even last for 10 seconds. And what are you running after? To fulfill your stupid carnal desires? But this love can last to eternity, You're pining, you're crying away. You're just trying to say, I want to see you, my Krishna. That's the kind of love that is. It's purity. And what does this human people think? Oh, look at this Lord Sri Krishna. He's having roaring affairs with so many gopis. Dare you not say that. If somebody says something in front of me like that about the Lord, I will break their teeth. And this is the truth I'm telling you. You know why? Because it is the spiritual truth which nobody understands. They reduce the Divine Lord Almighty to the level of a crass human being. This Divine Lord what is he talking? What is the Adhyatmic truth truth in that. The gopi represents the sages and the saints. They are finding their oneness with the self, which is inward. It is a representation. What happens to you? How does this love? How do you describe to a simple mind? So it is given in this form of Ras Leela, stories about Lord Shri Krishna in Vrindavan, different stories to give an understanding about what is this divine love all about. But no human being can understand unless and until you are the devotee of the divine Lord, unless and until you are the gopi of the divine Lord, not for anybody else. They can say, oh, I love Krishna. You can, parrot, like you can prattle like a parrot. I love Krishna, I love Krishna. Nothing you can understand of it, because you don't know what it means to love Lord Shri Krishna. And in Lord Shri Krishna's world, the love is unconditional. What does it mean? Nobody can possess Krishna. See, when you get married, if you have a boyfriend, what do you tend to do? I possess, oh, that is my boyfriend. He should not talk to any other girl. He should, my boyfriend should not talk to anybody else. He's my husband. She's my wife. She cannot look at another man. Lord Shri Krishna doesn't say anything. It is unconditional. In his world, he loves everybody. His language is about the universal love, that love which is supreme love. That is why he's called the ocean of supreme love. He's called the supreme divine consciousness. Nobody can understand this love. And what is the highest form of love that you can attain is called prema. It's called the Raga Nuga Bhakti, highest form of devotion that you can have for Lord Shri Krishna. It's not a joke, to attain something like that. Mirabai was one of the greatest devotees of Lord Shri Krishna. Her love was beautiful. Radha Rani, you take so many other gopis, they're all so devoted. Radha Rani could see everything in the entire Vrindavan was Lord Shri Krishna alone for him. Lord Shri Krishna has never left Vrindavan to date. He is even today right there. That form of Vrindavan, that form of Lord Shri Krishna in Vrindavan exists even today. But you need to be a devotee to see him. Like I explained, you can go to my Gurudev, Gangapur, Lord Dattatreya, Narsimha Saraswati's place where he did so many different beautiful things. But because people started flocking, that place went to ruins. Even today, you can find Lord Dattatreya, but when you have the devotion, can you see him right there? He will be standing right in front of your eyes, but nobody else can see except his highest of the devotee. That bhakti will make that divinity manifest for you. So have that kind of devotion. Don't fall prey into this material world enticements with your sense organs, sense pleasures. Don't fall prey to that. That is what Lord Shri Krishna, Lord Datta, he's also Shri Krishna himself, Lord Dattatreya is teaching us his 24 principal gurus. How beautiful it is. But what happens, it is only till this moment that satsang is so exciting. We feel, oh my God, so powerful. But when you actually go back during your daytime to doing something, you again become the crass human being. Why? Because the application of knowledge doesn't happen. So constantly you have to fill your mind with the chant of the divine Lord. That is why we say Hari Bol 24/7. Chant his divine name, do bhajan, sing praises. That is what you have to fill your entire being with. Don't be devoted. Don't even think of any other object in your world. And if you do, it is your funeral, not anybody else's. So what happens? The elephant is a slave to the sense of touch. The male elephant, driven by lust, falls into a pit attracted by a dummy female elephant, put there as a trap by the elephant catchers. Oh my God. Then what happens? Then they'll take the elephant away. They'll, they'll make the elephant do all sorts of, work, make it a slave, or, take the elephant and put the elephant in a zoo, whatever, this is what happens. That's how we human beings are, unfortunate. But this is what we need to learn, not to fall prey to our senses. Because sense pleasure is very dangerous. Can you become desireless being? Can you draw all your sense inwards to attain the divine Lord Almighty, or to only, have devotional service unto him? This is what you have to channel. Why have we been given senses? Imagine if you don't have a body, how can you experience that love for the divine Lord Almighty? So this body is extremely important. The senses are important, but it is not given for you to go and fall into the ditch. On the contrary, all of this organ tool, mind is a tool, this body is a vehicle. Everything is given so that you attain the highest wheel, that is attaining your spiritual wheel and serving the purpose for why you have taken this human birth. That is the most important aspect, and don't ever forget this, please. So let us continue. The next principal guru is fish. Oh my God. The fish is a slave to the sense of taste, tongue. I want to eat chicken biryani. Coveting food in bites the bait and is caught and meets his end. You know what? A man cannot control his, one of the biggest palate that he can't control is the sense of taste. We want to eat always nice cham chamit. My Guruji will say this word. Cham chamit. Krishna, for Krishna, Lord Shri Krishna, they offer chappan bhog and will say cham chamit chahiye. But please, everybody is not Lord Shri Krishna. The chappan bhog has a beautiful story behind it, which nobody knows. Just to give a slight deviation, I'm going to give you the small story. Why is the chappan bhog there? Chappan bhog came into existence because, remember, there was a very beautiful story in Vrindavan that happened when Lord Indra got angry because he didn't receive the offerings. Krishna said to the villagers that nobody will make the yajna or give the offerings to Lord Indra. Instead, they have to make the sacrifice and offering to the Govardhan mountain. So Indra rains heavily. So what does the Lord do? He floods that whole Mathura and Vrindavan completely. It's flooding. So it's flooded with rain and inundated with rain and flood with the heavy pour, and everybody is scared now. So what does the Lord do? He lifts that Govardhan mountain, on this small finger like this, and he holds it. And he makes that as a roof for everybody. So everybody comes and takes shelter under that. So for 7 days, everybody is under that Govardhan mountain without food. So the villagers, very pleased with Lord Shri Krishna for saving them, they make that chappan bhog. How does this count of 56? How does it come? Lord Shri Krishna was having 8 meals a day. So 8 times into 7 days. 7 8s are 56. So the villagers offered him 56 varieties of food. That is how chappan bhog came. And since then, everybody offers. You go to ISKCON temple there or any of the very great Krishna temples, they will offer him chappan bhog. And what is the chappan bhog all about? Milk, dahi, curd, yogurt, sweets, all kind of milk sweets. Everything is made of milk products. And ghee, clarified butter. Lord loves all of this. It is the sattva guna. The food represents sattvic in nature. That is the kind of food he used to eat. And what are we saying here? Today, people are eating all nonsensical things. Very sneakily, you should go observe your old parents. What they'll do? I am not eating anything. Look, I have diabetes. I have, blood pressure. I eat only one rice. That also I can't my stomach. It doesn't, I feel already full. I'm, like cow and goat, I'm eating raw vegetables. We have become animals. What all nonsense they'll say. You should just go observe them. Be very quiet. Next time try this. If you have old parents, please keep a watch on them. Very quietly observe them. Sneakily they'll go and keep snacking. And snack all sorts of fried stuff, oily stuff. Their age is 70 plus 70. You can't keep eating stupid food like that. It is not your age, and today everything is genetically modified. Whatever we're eating all dust and garbage. There is no protein and energy in it. The reason why we have to eat such sattvic food is because at least we can be hale and hearty. Health is wealth, we say. But if you don't even have that health, what is the use of the wealth? And then what? You're paying your medical bills. One industry which is going to become booming, it will become $1 trillion industry, which is healthcare. Everybody is sick because we are eating all sorts of nonsensical food, processed food, genetically modified food. Where is the natural food gone? And in the name of organic, people are actually, you people are becoming the bakra. Bakra means scapegoats for all these big manufacturers of organic food. They are actually making a lot of money because fools like you are there. Because you think whatever this marketing and internet has taken over to give you all nonsensical ideas about what you should eat and what you should not eat. Because today nobody knows, because knowledge is zero. We have not bothered to learn. We can, whatever the medicine the doctor prescribes, we believe, the doctor is saying something good. They themselves don't know. It's all hidden. This whole world is a maya. It's completely going to the gutters. Why do you also want to destroy your life? Can you just not get into this? And please eat good food, live a God-pleasing life. You have to wake up at a certain hour. You have to do your, whatever the simple exercise that you will do. Then you have to eat moderately, in moderation, whatever is your regular meal, and do worship. There must be some goodness, happiness. Yesterday my Guruji was teaching, I think day before yesterday, he was teaching something very beautiful. Why it is important to have a love. That we have something called dopamine. Yeah, that's the word I forgot yesterday. The dopamine is called the love hormone. It secretes within us. We have to feel loved. And love doesn't mean we need, young kids. See, those days, everybody were living in a joint family. So there was a lot of harmony, there was a lot of understanding, goodness. So people lived hale and hearty. In Japan, there is a village where everybody is more than 110, 120 years old and they're living very happily. And the concept is called ikigai. It's the state of being happy. Everybody is very happy. Why they are happy? Because they're very contented with their life. They live a very disciplined life and there is always caring and sharing. Here, oh my God, sharing. Oh, this is mine. I also want to take away what you also have. Sharing though doesn't exist. Forget about it. If somebody has something, you're going to feel jealous. I also want it or I want to take it away from. Either by force or by whatever way, coercion, choice, in whatever way. We only want to possess. But we never had harmony. We don't live in harmony. But those days, living in joint family means everybody were mutually understanding. There was this, okay, we are part of family. There was goodness, there was giving, there was everything that was going on. But today we don't have that. So where is the question of happiness? Happiness doesn't exist. Everybody is living individually. And because of the kind of food that you're eating, people are like, I don't know why, unnecessarily they're just angry. There is always bitterness. There is no goodness. There is no, you don't even take the name of God. You do worship. You just try to light a lamp, in your puja room because you have to do it. It's a forcible act. Not because you're bhakti, there is any bhakti in you, not there is any devotion in you, but it is like a duty for you, forcibly. And I was feeling very sad. The other day I went to a very beautiful temple, which has been my very favorite temple for many years now. And I've seen this temple for the last 30 years, rather, 25 years. Okay. I'm still 16 at heart. Okay. So don't ask my age. So anyway, coming back, so when I went to this temple, the same priest, who was so active and vibrant. He has done so many pujas in my house and would give prasad the moment you go. Whatever is offered to the Lord, he will bring and give it. Take this, take that, and take this. Today, the same person, because given into his old age and he's unable to walk, they're just performing something. Oh God, I have to do this. Like a drudgery sort of. Just know that that vibrancy is not there. So who is impacting this? You yourself, because you're not able to keep up to that energy, bhakti. No, that's not there anymore. We are all gone into the tamas. Tamas is just overpowering us, which is very sad. Kali Purusha is doing his work fantastically. Remember the first or second chapter of Guru Charitra, we did how the Kali Purusha, his job is to push everybody, towards tamas. And he's going to use, what is he going to use? The lust and greed. Big two weapon. And I'm not going to use the word which is mentioned in the scripture. That is the thing he is going to use as his weapon to make everybody go fall in that ditch. So you should not fall. If you are getting this knowledge, please remember, God has been very kind to you that you are able to listen to this satsang and make use of this. Don't waste this knowledge that's coming to you. It is important that you have to lift yourself. See, it's about self-effort. You have to empower yourself to rise. You don't have to fall down to becoming a tamasic in nature. And I was feeling sad. Why is this world become like this? It's very sad to see those places which you love the most has completely gone to ruins today. It's deteriorated because nobody is wanting to, they don't want to work. They all want to sit and be like this. Actually, yesterday my Krishna Guruji gave a very beautiful satsang. And in that he said, sattva guna, the sattvic nature though doesn't exist at all in today's day and age. There is no sattva. The only thing that is there is rajas and tamas. Sattvic guna exists in one being, and you know who's that is? Artificial intelligence. And then he said something very interesting. And even that, if man has designed that artificial intelligence, then it will also become tamasic. Then it will not listen. If a tamasic person is, writing that algorithm, then that will also is going to become tamasic. Then it will not listen to you. But the only one today which listens to you is, Boston Dynamic Robotics. Have you seen that? You should go check it out. Very efficient, highly efficient. So of course, AI is going to replace human beings because human beings don't want to do, but AI wants to do everything. So the whole world is going to be robot. We are all going to be just sitting there, and robots are going to do. Tomorrow I don't know if even AI will come and give this satsang also. Sorry, that's fun. So coming back, so why are we becoming so lazy? See, there's nobody who can help you if you don't help yourself. God helps those who can, who help. God will only help those who will help themselves. So it is all about self-effort, which is what Lord Sri Krishna has said. Why do you think Lord Sri Krishna has to keep manifesting time and again? Because he knows there is a flaw in the system. The flaw is the human mind. God has given mind so that you can become somebody great, somebody divine, not to become go into the gutters. But unfortunately, the human mind is being used towards becoming, I mean, going into the gutters. So he has to keep manifesting. So the whole aspect is don't fall prey to your sense pleasures. So coming, okay, so fish, so palate. Okay, coming back to the whole story which that we went around. So thing is, please control your palate. You don't have to eat fried foods. If you're a diabetic, please control. Be careful about what is the diet you have to follow. You need to eat simple food. You know, especially these old people. You know, if you're be very careful with your parents. For all those people who are old, you know, old parents, you need to keep a watch on them. You know what? When they had to eat, they didn't eat. But today, because they have nothing to do, they want to eat all the tasty food, spicy food, snacky food, everything, fried items. But today is not the age for them to eat this food. Why don't they understand? So one thing that a man cannot control is this palate, the taste. So be very careful. And also tongue, the taste, right? One is what you eat. The second one also is what you speak. It's very important. So be very careful what you say. Always say good things about people. That's also very important. That's a very important aspect of how you use the power of speech to do good or to do bad. The choice rests within you alone. So the sense of, you know, the taste, that is very important. Coveting food, it bites the bait and is caught and meets its end. So this is what will happen. So if you don't control and then you keep eating, one day even you are going to die like this. This is the truth about life. So you better understand. Don't fall prey to this. You know, follow a very healthy diet. Eat everything in moderation and live a God-pleasing life. Otherwise, you're the one who's going to suffer. Unfortunately, you will also make people around you suffer the most, because your temperament is, you know, the Lord Buddha says, it's not the thoughts define who you are, it's also what you eat, you know, shows who you become. So your eating habits have to be very good. Eating in time is very important. Whole meal every day. One whole meal is a very important thing. And don't bother about this weight. People fall again prey to all these, you know, different intermittent dieting and some nonsensical diet regime they'll follow. You know, my Guruji says, please remember your body is used to certain way of life and the food right from your childhood. So you cannot go and suddenly change because you want to look beautiful, you want to reduce your weight and destroy yourself, because that is actually going to lead to something else in the future when you are going to face the brunt of it. So don't fall prey to all of this. Yeah, you do yoga, doesn't matter, go for whatever the basic exercise you're doing to keep your body healthy. Exercise is a must. Nobody's saying you should not do, but don't go and do things. Don't go overboard and do things that is going to have negative impact on your health much later in life. So be very careful. So the next principal guru is what? Black bee. The black bee is a slave to the sense of smell, nose. Attracted by the fragrance of flowers, it hops from flower to flower and gets stuck in the petals and dies. Okay. What does it do? It gets attracted. It's smell. It's drawn by the beautiful smell of the flower. So what does it do? The fragrance of the flower. It hops from flower to flower and gets stuck in the petals and die. So there are certain wildflowers, okay, and which are very dangerous. So the bee obviously doesn't know. Sometimes it falls prey because it gets attracted to the smell. So see, all this is again talking about how we are also drawn. I think I've given this whole lesson in about the sense organs, senses, how you should be. I think we should continue. I'm not going to go deeper in it. I hope you understand. The earlier examples, I, L to P, teach that if we yield ourselves to the lures of the senses, we are doomed. But if we can restrain our senses, we will be saved. We have seen that enslavement to our sense alone has caused such havoc in the above instances. Man has all the five senses, and if he pampers them, alas, what doom will he be meeting? Who is teaching this? Lord Dattatreya himself. And if you still don't understand, nobody can save you. Even God can't save you. You are going to go through that suffering, going through that misery, and finally having a fatal end. What can anybody do to you? You are the only one who has put yourself in it. So please, rise right now. And note, and there's, we'll say, right, oh God, I've lost all the time. No, there's no perfect timing. It is now. You can rise even today, and use the same thing that God has given you in redeeming yourself, in making sure you become a very beautiful, God pleasing human being, and not living like a dog in this world. So you have a chance even now. So wake up, rise, do something about your life. So the next principal guru is the dancing girl, Pingala, the virtue of desirelessness. Oh my God, desirelessness. Okay, that is a very big challenge. We have too many desires, insatiable desires. Bucket list, like a bottomless pit. Our bucket list is never ending. You keep putting into it, keeps going down, 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 down. And oh God, I need this, I need that, I want this. Oh God, our desires is the root cause of all our miseries. I hope you understand this. So let us learn what the dancing girl Pingala represents and what does she do. One night, Pingala was tired looking for customers and felt disappointed and worried. But she thought, why not remain content with what I have? With this thought, instantly a sense of peace came over her. It is desire that brings and breeds worry. Contentment, desirelessness, and abandonment of hope always endow peace and true happiness. Oh my God, this is a very profound lesson. Let me explain to you. See, we all have certain desires in our life. When we are born, we're always dissatisfied with what God has given us. Either we'll say, okay, I didn't want this parents. You don't have a choice to choose your parents, unfortunately. But they say, no, I can't choose my parents, but I can choose my in-laws. So there are people who talk nonsense stuff. But come on, one thing you need to understand, it's not about the choice, it's about your karma. That is why you're born with them. Again, it's all about repayment. So most important thing is you need to first accept the life that you have given, God has given you, or you have got it. The next important thing is using that same God given life, how can you rise above from where you are? That is the effort you have to put. How do you accept for your life and become very contented? There is no need to have the desire of saying I want to become the president of America, or I want to become the prime minister of India. Whoever you want to be, I want to become a CEO, chairman, all this. What use is it? Imagine, the higher you go, the position, power, name, fame, money is only going to attract more enemies, more trouble for you. Your life is going to become hellish. Why do you need that? But whatever comes to you naturally, this is what Lord Sri Krishna says. What comes to you naturally, effortlessly, if God wills to give you, then you don't have a choice. It is His will, and He will take care. He will help you, journey that path. So you don't have to worry about doing anything. But don't have the desire saying, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. This I want this is the root cause of all your miseries. It is because of desire. The desire either to get married, to have a job, a well-paying job. I want to go travel abroad. Travel is a big desire. Everybody, you ask anybody in this world, I want to travel the world. This is the answer they'll give. What? Travel the world? What are you going to do? Like my Krishna Guruji has told many years, yeah, we want to all see the world. But when you understand the truth about the world, which is not seen, you know what? We don't actually see what is actually happening in this world. We only see that glamour, that beauty, that is what entices, and that is called Maya. The truth behind what is there, we've never understood, we have never made effort, because we're all ignorant beings. What are we wearing? Pink color glasses, and that too layers and layers of pink color glasses. It's taken me many years, even after my Guruji has explained to me a lot of things, I refuse to accept. And till the moment I myself haven't got this direct experience, and I feel very sad that this is exactly what my Guruji has been teaching, and it is my egoistic nature which didn't let me see the truth. And finally the same thing was when my pink color glasses broke. It is very painful, and today I understand how it is so important that you just have to be thankful for the life you have, whatever God has given you, and just be contented. The truth you have to find. You have to just find satisfied. That truth is very important, because you know what, that is what will make you, go towards the divine being, and not fall prey to this maya, the worldly attractions. Don't get lost in that. I want good clothes, I want to own a big bungalow, I want to have a yacht, I want to go on a holiday destination wedding, what not people do. I want to go to the best bar, I want to go to the club, I want to do this, I want to dance, what not. Oh my god, it's horrifying. But you'll realize that none of this thing will give you any peace and contentment. It's only momentary. You're satisfying your desire, and that is never going to give you anything. And in this, what did Pingla say? I just have to be happy with what I have. Why am I trying to find something? And so she gave that up. That is called, you know okay, there's a very interesting word for that. I'm not getting that word, but I will tell you. It's kind of, you instantly break off that whole thing of saying, no, I will completely walk out of. It's a vairagya, but it is not a market vairagya. You give that up at one shot. It's like that, no, one shot, and that's it. You'll say, I'm out of this, and that's exactly what Pingala did. That vairagya she got, and she said, no, I'm not going to go after. I will be contented and thruped with what God has given me. So what does she say? She thought, why not remain content with what I have? That's the most important thing. Everybody's been given what they have, and you need to be contented, and God will give you that which is right for you. You don't need more, because the more is always misery. Let me tell you, more is painful. You don't need to have. But if you are the source, so that more has to go to the rest of the world, you're only a zaria. You're an conduit, you're an instrument, a tool, you're like the tap from which the water flows through you, and people have to quench their thirst. They will use that water for different purpose. So you're that, that zaria through whom God is serving certain purpose in this world. So you just have to be that. But beyond that, don't have any other dream, aspiration, and always feel satisfied. A human being is never satisfied. No matter how much you give him, whatever you give him, he will always find something is missing in his life. Don't ever be that. It's not going to give you anything. You're not going to go anywhere in life, let me tell you. And then it is desire that brings and breeds worry. What is going to breed worry? It is the desire to, I have to own my flat, I need a 5 crore flat, I need a 10 crore, I need to own this, I have to build a factory, I have to have a huge business, I want to make money, I want crores, billions. Oh my god, can you just stop it? It's not going to give you anything in life. Contentment, desirelessness, and abandonment of hope. What does it say? Abandonment of hope. What does that mean? When you abandon hope, which means, okay, I hope that something better will happen, which means everybody's living on a hope. Why do you even have a hope that tomorrow is going to be a better? You just have to surrender to the divine Lord. Lord, whatever you do, I'm sure that is the best for me. So where is the question of contentment? It's contentment, desirelessness. Sorry. What am I trying to say is that when you abandon hope, don't even hope that there is a better future for you, better tomorrow for you, because we all live on hope. And even when the hope is unfulfilled, then you are going to suffer. So what is he saying? Be contented, become desireless, and abandon all the hope that you keep in life, whether it's respect to people, your own life, or anything else in this world. So don't have that. Always end up peace and true happiness. What is true happiness? To finding that self within you. That is where the true happiness. It is not happiness. Happiness is all the state of mind. The word is blissful state. You're going to be one with yourself, which is absolutely in that blissfulness, and you will just do everything that comes to you naturally. Whatever job is there, you will just do because it's part of this body. You have to perform those actions, and then you will do everything selflessly. And then what are you going to do? Nishkama karma. If God has made you He's put in you that position, and you have to do some job, you will just do it without any expectation, attachment, nothing. But you will do in the bhav that you're only serving the divine Lord Almighty. That is what we have to do. Why do we say we have work is worship? Everybody has to do their job. Duties are must, but you have to perform selflessly. Selfless action, nishkama karma. We have 7 minutes, so we'll do one more principal group and then we'll stop. The Ravan, the evil of clinging to possessions. Oh my god, I think all this while we're talking about desires, everything is interlinked. Do you see that? The evil of clinging to possessions. Once a raven picked up a piece of flesh. It was pursued and hurt by other birds. But when in desperation she dropped the piece of flesh, all the chasing birds left her, and then she felt completely relieved and was happy. It is our possessions which we hug too, and that is the cause of all our miseries. What are we doing? Oh my God! I think this is, you see everybody's story lies in this. It's everybody's parents will say, "Oh, I worked very hard. I sweat so much. Every drop of my blood, I worked hard and I've saved that money for a rainy tomorrow. I have this house. I made this house. I own this piece of land. Who is this I who owns? Who is this I who makes this house?" It's all our ego. See, God has given you. Nobody owns anything. And actually, you have to go listen to my Krishna Guruji satsang yesterday. And in that, he says, we all try to fight over the piece of land. You know what? Everything, before anybody claimed possession over this, and Mother Nature, everything belonged to one alone, the Divine Lord Almighty. Even today, it belongs to the Divine Lord Almighty alone. But what do we have? We just try to buy a piece. We fight for a piece of land between brothers and sisters, parents, relatives. We are fighting over some petty things in life. Why do we need all that? We just have to let go. In one of the satsang in Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Shri Krishna is teaching, beyond after a certain age, why are you holding to this kingdom and sitting there? One of the story about the kings, he's saying, can you hand over that every charge to your children? They are capable to do that. They are capable to run their life. And why are you holding on to the possession? Because man feels that it is his, till the last breath he's holding on to that possession. And then what happens? Next life, he's still going to be born to some kida. He'll become some kida mokoda and be attached in that position. If he has a farmland, he'll become an earthworm and live there. That is exactly what he'll become. Why is such a desire of owning something? Why are these possessions? Why can't you just let go? Why you think it is yours and it has to be your way alone? You don't understand the power of the divine. Nothing is ours. Everything is God given. We need to acknowledge Him. Who is this I who has earned it? Please remember, if God has not given this job, who is this I who is earning it? Who is this I who is taking care? There is nobody who takes care. At the end of the day, like my Krishna Guruji says, I have idiots like you in this world whom I make sure that he does my job. What does that mean? I have put you there so that you can take care of your parents. I have put you there so that you can serve this world. I have put you there so that you can give job to someone. I put you in that position. Lord Shri Krishna says this. Who is this I who thinks that I am doing it? I doesn't do. Nobody does. We are all the servants of the divine Lord Almighty. This is the truth you need to understand. And don't possess anything. When you possession it's another root cause of all your misery. Don't possess anything. Even you have one piece of gold, one piece of land, one piece of something small, even it could be a sari, there will be fight even over that. This is how the human nature is. I've seen through all this, and this body has seen through in different capacities. Today I understand this truth, like my Krishna Guruji has taught. There is no relative, there is no mother, father, brother, sister, nobody. When it's the question of money, wealth, no relation exists at that time. Please remember, my Guruji will say a very powerful lesson. He'll say, stop sending money to your family for 2-3 months and see what happens. They'll start calling you names. They will abuse you, they will insult you, they'll say, oh, my son is not taking care of me, all sorts of drama will happen. And then what? They will make it such a big deal. But truly, this is how the world is, and this is the truth we fail to understand. So don't possess anything, don't have anything which is going to lead you to a painful existence, because it's taking you away from becoming one with the self. It's entangling you in the material world. So don't possess anything, don't covet anything, just give it away. Like my Krishna Guruji, today he has nothing to possess, nothing to covet, nothing to own. He doesn't take any money from anybody, doesn't ask anything from anybody. He gives everything free. Sorry. I tell my Guruji, there is no free lunch even in God's heaven. But my Guruji is great. But one thing you need to understand. Till you don't give your Guru Daksha, no knowledge will come to you. My Guruji can give you free, but please, the truth is that for the knowledge to open up, you have to pay Guru Dakshina. There are no two ways about it. There is no free lunch even in God's heaven. The point I'm trying to make is my Guruji lives like an avaduta. Even if somebody gives, he doesn't care. Like for Ramakrishna ji, you give him a piece of gold and in other hand some shit, it's one and the same. For them, it doesn't matter. What use is it both? Both is equal. They look at everything the same. In their world, there is no value to anything. The highest value that has is knowledge. And but Lord Shri Krishna says, even you have to chuck this knowledge when you have to go to him. What does he stand for? Love and devotion. How do you go attain love and devotion? With humility and humbleness. That is what you have to become. So don't possess and don't make your life misery, a miserable existence. Don't possess anything and just go towards attaining your self-realization. Do everything selflessly in this world. Whatever comes to you effortlessly, just let it be. If you have to give it to your kids, the responsibility, just chuck it away. Whatever you have to, just depend on the God. He takes care of you. Why worry? That is what Lord Shri Krishna says. Perform all your duties for my sake alone. Being completely detached and depending upon me. So when you depend upon him, he's there to take care of you. He will give you that which is required for you to live a God pleasing life. With that, we stop here, we end here. We continue not tomorrow. Tomorrow there will be no satsang. So we will continue on Friday. So pretty much we will be finishing it on Friday. Thank you for joining Shri Guru Charitra Satsang. Wishing you all a very happy Wednesday. Om Shri Mahaganapate Namaha. Om Shri Gurudev Datta. Om Shri Sachidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Digambara Digambara Shripad Vallabha Digambara. Om Shri Krishna Guru Nathanataya Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Devi Durgaya Namaha. Om Shri Krishna Arpanam Namastu. Krishnam Vande Jagat Guru.